from Australia Kava Shop. Look, over the next month or so, we're going to be doing a range of interviews with people who are in the Kava game, have been in the Kava game, around the Kava culture and Kava scene, and just like quiz them on a few anomalies about their lives and their experiences with Kava. And today I've got Phil Manhire with me. Now, Phil's a long-term friend of Australia Kava Shop and myself. Due diligence, he's also the owner of Buy Kava Australia, one of our affiliates, and many other affiliate sites for Australia Kava Shop. That's not what we're going to be talking about though today. Phil, welcome.
Thanks, Dan.
No worries. Mate, you've had a really long, experience and lifetime in Kava. Can you let me know what your very first experience was in Kava?
The first one was, that goes back 20 plus years as a tourist. And strangely enough, it was as a tourist to Fiji, and given a shell of kava as part of the experience. Did nothing for me. It must be as weak as. But the real first experience of genuine kava was when I came to Vanuatu. And I first visited Vanuatu back in 1997, and got introduced to the kava there. And then, as my wife and I kept on coming back to Vanuatu, because we love the place.
Cool.
We started to suss out the Nakamal scene, the local kava scene.
Right. Okay. Now I'm pretty sure that's where I met you. Almost positive.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, it was. Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Should we have a snappy?
Oh, sounds like a plan.
Snappy on Vanuatu's finest.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll go slow because it is midday at the moment.
Yeah.
So we'll go light. You let me know. There we go.
Thank you, Cam. And as I say, back in our old hometown, Malok.
Look. Oh yeah.
Beautiful.
Awesome. Wow.
Good way to start the day.
Yeah. So your very first experience was in Fiji, but the true Kava experience, your first true Kava experience was in
Vanuatu.
In Vanuatu.
Absolutely.
Right. And do you remember specifically where and when it was?
To be honest, no. I ended up being a regular at so many Nakamals. I can't remember which one it was, to be truthful.
Yeah.
I have a feeling it might have been one that was called First Bucket or Fest Bucket.
Oh yeah, First Bucket.
Yeah.
Mike started back at freshwater. Seven Star area.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was a good place.
It was a good place. A lot of expats used to go there as well as the locals, and it was good fun.
On that, so and I'm just going to digress a little bit here from the Kava discussion. I think I heard you before I met you, and what I mean by that is that you had come. I was living in Villa, and you came to Villa, and you were on the radio.
That's right.
Under a pseudonym, which was
Dr. Lovemore, Love After Dark.
Those of you who are from Villa from that period of, dare I say, like 2008 through to 2015, probably heard Phil Sonoma, Dr. Lovemore, and
that's it.
Dr. Lovemore was like
It was a talk-back relationship show, and on that I used to play a lot of 80s and 90s love songs, and people would ring myself and give me their questions about which was generally about their relationships with their girlfriends and parents and that sort of thing, and I'd give it to them straight.
a little bit controversial at times, from what I remember.
Oh yeah, it was indeed. I know many in the church there weren't all that enthused about what I was doing, because I told the truth. If somebody asked me a question, I would tell them exactly what I thought. And it ended up where parents were insisting that their children listen to the program.
Isn't that interesting? So, the frank and open discussions about relationships, sex, and so forth, which just weren't part of the narrative in Villa or the discourse in Villa, and within the event culture, for that matter, because of its Christian roots. I guess, that led to a number or a lack of discussion around those areas. So, which. That was what I remember hearing. Come back from the Kava and had the radio, and I'm like, this guy talking about like relationships and sex on the radio. I'm thinking, man, he's gonna get yanked. They're gonna pull it off the radio for sure. Anyway, hey, look, back to the Kava discussion. So, your first experience in Villa, You moved to Villa, moved to Vanuatu?
Permanently, yep, from here, from the Gold Coast.
From the Goldie?
Yep.
Okay. And we're drinking in and around the various Kava bars, Nakamala scenes around Villa.
Yep.
Now, some pretty odd things happen at Nakamala's occasionally. What's the most bizarre experience that you remember?
Oh, that's a really good question, Cam. I do remember, and chances are you're going to tackle this subject anyway, but I do remember at one of the Nakamals we were given some stone ground cover, and that was just, I'm trying to think how to describe it, but put it this way, I drank 2-3 shells every day. There is no way in the world I could drink 2 or 3 shells of stone cover. I mean, one shell was just...
So explain a little bit, because the people watching, quite a lot of them probably won't know what stone carver means and what that preparation is.
Well, you might know this better than myself actually, Cam, but my understanding is that they would get the carver root and pound it and grind it and grind it and pound it until it was a really, really fine powder. And then it was a matter of mixing it with the water and down you went. Have I got that right?
Sort of. So there's almost no water involved outside of the most modest lubricant, I guess, as they grind the green root with a piece of coral.
Yeah.
Right? And subsequently what you're drinking is almost 100% unfiltered green mass, I guess, or juice, right?
Yeah.
You
remember that time?
I distinctly remember that session, and I've got a feeling that was at the Nakamala you mentioned last flight, Mike's Nakamala.
Fest Bucket.
Fest Bucket.
Yeah.
I distinctly remember that. Well, that cuts out the next question was going to be what was the strongest coffee you've ever had. So we now live in Australia. You live in Australia now, obviously. How does Kava figure into your life these days?
It's pretty much a daily thing, Cam. At the end of the day, I usually end up downing 2 or 3 shells. I mean, I sit on the butt most of the day, slaving over a hot keyboard, as I like to say, and it gets a little bit stressful at times. Plus also, I find that I get, as a consequence of spending so many hours in front of the computer, I tend to get a lot of shoulder aches and pains, and I find that by having the Kava, those pains go really quickly, and I just don't get stressed. The stress just disappears. If I've got it, it just disappears like that.
Just gone.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your, now that you're back in Oz, and obviously we can't get green Kava like we did back in Vanuatu, what is your sort of favourite Kava, whether it's a type or extract, or what's your favourite? If you had unlimited access to the various Kava products out there, what was the one go-to you'd...
Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, Cal. I'm actually going to pick 2.
Okay.
Right?
Sweet.
I do love the Vanuatu natural Kava. I just find it so smooth. It does everything I want. It's nice and heady. Helps me to relax. Does the aches and pains thing. And it's great for sleeping. But also, I'm a bit of a lazy sod at times. So if I'm putting in extra hours at what I do, then I really like to have my instant Kava.
Yeah, it's simple, it's easy.
Look, if I had to toss a coin, I'd say, look, I'll go the instant Kava. It's strong. It literally takes 10 to 15 seconds to make. So it's all too easy. And if anybody pops in, like friends pop in that I'm not expecting, I've got the Kava on hand to be able to give them a drink straight away.
Yeah, you don't have to squeeze.
I don't have to go through the mixing and squeezing routine.
Yeah.
So it's very, very handy in that regard.
Okay. So and you should never mention anyone's age on camera, but as a senior gentleman, we're starting to see a very gradual increase in seniors coming into the Kava scene. What would you say to seniors that are looking at Kava as an alternative but might be a little frightened about it?
Okay, first of all, don't be frightened about it. I'm not frightened to say my age. I'm 75, and I started drinking Kava 20 years ago. And look, it's been an absolute blessing. I had a beer about 4 days ago. Now, there was a time when I would have 3 to 6 beers a day. It's definitely helped me get away from the alcohol. Well, if I go out to dinner, I'll have a nice glass of red or something, but I don't look for alcohol. Also, I'm past the age for hangovers, and that's where Kava's great because you can get all the buzz and the good feel and the lessening of anxiety and stress and aches and pains going and what have you by drinking Kava. And the next morning, you're just ready to rock and roll. Yeah.
There's no fuzz there.
No, absolutely not. And in fact, I find that Kava increases the clarity of the mind while you're drinking it after it. I mean, I wouldn't say go and have a dozen shells. It might have a bit of a different effect. But, 2 or 3 shells a night, it's lovely. And it's a great social drink as well.
Yeah, I went to that. I just think that there's a number of Kava bars established in Australia now, which is unreal, fantastic. It's building the Kava culture and the connection that comes with drinking Kava with other people, even complete strangers, right? That's something I do miss from Villa because you could literally go to any Kava bar, have a shell, sit down, a story on with like anyone. For that matter.
Oh, look, there'd be politicians to plumbers, there would be, sparkies, businessmen and women, gardeners,
it's rad enough.
All walks of life.
That's the great thing about Kava, how it brings people together like that.
Exactly.
I distinctly remember, this is just an anecdotal thing, but being at Sophie Nakamale, and there was a magistrate on my left, and a knee man, stand over man, collections guy on my right. And I'll never forget it. It was just a classic moment. Okay, so if, let's say someone or a senior has got past the intrepidation, going, okay, I'm going to give it a shot.
Yep.
What are the challenges that they might face, I guess, once they place their first order?
I think the only real challenge would be to make sure that and we're talking about Kava powder here for the moment, to make sure that they're doing the routine of mixing and squeezing the right way. I mean, it is a process. It does take, say, 20 minutes to do that, ignoring the time. I mean, there are a couple of little tricks to making Kava, which you would find on our website about supercharging it, but just got to be patient and do it the right way. And really, that's about the only challenge I can think of. And look, if you're really short on time, if time's that precious to you, by all means, have the instant cup. Myself, unless I'm under real pressure from work, time-wise, then I rather enjoy the processing aspect of it. I get lost in the whole thing of, measuring and pouring and squeezing and all that sort of thing. So it's cathartic in its own right.
I agree with you there. I reckon that's something we didn't know about it back in Vanuatu because people were squeezing for a commercial scale. We weren't involved in that side of it, right?
No, that's right.
The 5 minutes and maybe up to 10 max that it takes me to prep it, like I'm squeezing away. I'm either listening to something on a podcast or I'm having a chat with the missus at the same time. It's barely an inconvenience, right? It's not a thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you do up enough for 2 or 3 days, bang it in the fridge, and you're good for.
Yeah, it's I think importantly for the seniors, although this seems to be an emerging issue with the younger generations, is the subject of arthritis. Now, my wife suffers from arthritis. I'm not going to say that it cures it. It doesn't. But it sure as heck makes a big inroad on the pain that she gets from her arthritis. So that's, as a senior, I think that's worth mentioning and remembering, because we don't like to live with aches and pains.
No, and look, I think that's a great point. Like, even for for my age and younger, if you're active and you're doing sports, you're going to be you're going to be sore, right? A vastly overlooked component of Kava is that it's an anti-inflammatory, right?
Yes.
So if you are exercising or suffering from aches and pains and you have a few shells, it's going to reduce the inflammation, less pain, right?
Which makes it fantastic for the, let's say for the Gen Zs and the millennials and what have you in particular, who spend a lot of time at the gym.
Yeah.
And straight after a workout, that is magical time. It's the time to have a shell or two.
Yeah.
Because that just really hastens the process of easing that money strain and pain. And you might like to tell them, Cam, this is something I'm aware of, talk about the rugby league.
Oh, yeah. Look, I mean, there was the glory days, I can't remember the year now, when the Warriors made the G, and I think from memory there was a no alcohol rule during that period, and I think it was Ruben Wiki, a New Zealand rugby league legend and former Canberra, who advocated for Kava as two things, right? One as a team bonding thing, as a replacement for ripping open some cans.
Yep.
And two, because of the physical component, the anti-inflammatory. So, look, I'm stoked you brought that up from a senior's perspective. I'm sure that's something I'll be suffering, or I've sort of already in the next 20 years or so. Look, Phil, mate, stoked for today. Thanks for coming in.
My distinct pleasure, Cam.
Yeah, let's
really
catch up for a few more story on a few more shells in the future.
Yep.
I know you've got a swag of cool stories, but I just, for the most part, wanted to just touch on your origin and seniors discussion today. But mate,
thanks, Cam.
Thanks again, Phil.
Great to be here, mate.
On ya.
Thanks very much.
See ya.
We know our roots.